So we're speaking to Dr. Ruma, who is the Executive Director of Population Science at Roche. Ma'am, the importance of clinical trials in India. Why does Roche see that it's utmost important to now look at diversity in India for clinical trials?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we need to make sure that the trials that we have is representative of the patients who are going to get. And we've realized that we need the data to be able to make sure that the health outcomes are impacting and we maximize the health outcomes for all our patients. So the focus in India it's not new. It is just something that we are now able to apply this to the need in the public hospitals, where we see that there is a large amount of patients who go there, but there is not that many trial opportunities. And so we're building the capability in these hospitals to do more clinical trials.
How do you bridge the socio-economic gap between those people who cannot access clinical trials? So is going to the government hospitals the key to doing that, or is there more that needs to be done?
Oh, absolutely. There's more. There's an end-to-end strategy that needs to be put in place. Clinical trials create ecosystem for access. Clinical trials first give access to innovative therapies to patients through the trial setting. And it's a very important aspect of addressing that disparity, And then, of course, getting the data, knowing that these drugs are actually efficacious and safe in these patients. And then comes to the aspect of adoption of these drugs. It's just not about cost. It's about awareness that there are these innovative therapies that patients can do better in their control of their medicine. So this is really a thing about more of an end-to-end strategy than just a single focus on clinical trials being done. It is creating that ecosystem for access.
And finally, on the misuse of clinical trials, it's a very gray area, right? And how do you look at the end-to-end protocols are strict, stringent? Of course, there are laws and regulations that are already in place in India through the cdsco and other government agencies. But how do you ensure this with your centers, the 10 centers that you have put up in India?
Yeah. It's not just at 10 centers, it's at every site that we do our clinical trials. Clinical trials is one of the most regulated work that is being done. It's regulated through good clinical practices, through the ICH guidelines, as well as local laws that are very stringent in ensuring that we are not misusing. We are not just doing research in an unethical way. And so ensuring that these trials are being approved by ethics committees, they are being adequately monitored through ethics to make sure that they are being done, that consenting is happening, that is actually correct consent, that patients understand what they're signing up for, and that these protocols which have gone through review are being implemented. What we have done is we have trained and created that ecosystem for these public hospitals to implement these trials within the very strict guidelines and regulations. I think today clinical trials are much more regulated. There was a time when there were a lot of issues, but I do think we have learned our lesson and we have put in those checks and balances that I think the risk of that is very low. And as a sponsor, we absolutely are required to make sure that there is no misuse of that they are not misused.
Do you think there should be more clinical trial centers in India?
Absolutely. Yes, we need to expand the footprint of our clinical trials, and the way to do that is not just in the private institutions where the trials are happening today, but the opportunity actually lies in the public health. And we have heard from the government, which is also asking that trials are being done in the public health hospitals, because that's where we see a number of these patients are coming and seeking their care. And if you see our work in the Advancing Inclusive Research Sidelines is not just going to the tier 2, tier 3 cities. We are doing trials in these big urban centers, and that absolutely needs to continue. This is not an either or, this is an and. We need to build capacity and capability in where we see a lot of patient footfall. Again, with the aspect of access, making sure patients have access and a choice to participate in these, and that innovative therapies then get accessible to all our patients.
Speaking to us. This is the AIR Alliance, and that is the Roche initiative for making sure that clinical trials are properly done, ethically done, and a lot of training to this effect is being given in these 10 centers that have been established in India, so that greater representation is given to Indians in medicines that could be life-saving for the Indian population and ethnicity. With Alok Das, Milan Sharma in New Delhi for India Today.